All right, you been all right though?
Yeah, bro, how you been? I know you
I've been
tired.
good. I've
You
been
had a
trying to.
long season.
Yeah. But the Marching Band season just ended like last week. They did their little festival or whatever. So like things are starting to open back up. So I've been trying to keep myself busy and try to get this other thing going with the photography and everything. But how things been on your end?
It been really good, just blessed to be sitting up studying music again, and furthering my knowledge in that realm, you know, and uh tackling tough discussions with people that need to hear 'em, you know, talking to folks about racism, talking to folks about, just the injustices that exist, just because of black skin, you know.
Yeah. It's still funny, like even in this day and age, as of like 2020 and forward on to 2022, like it's still people who are oblivious to like matters like what you just spoke of, like and somebody had sent me like I want to say it was a TikTok or something of Dr. Umar, and he was talking about how hard it is for us as in people of color to get like business loans and stuff like that, but they'll rack the debt up to send us to college and do all this other stuff, buy houses and cars, but when somebody try to do better for themselves, they just be like, you know what, you got to jump through all these hoops and hurdles and all that other stuff. But um
True.
I know you, you know me. We've known each other for a long time. We were co-drum majors in high school at the Southside High School in the great Atlanta, Georgia. And but for those who may have not known you or don't know you or meeting you for the first time, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
That yeah, so like like Thomas said, man, we've been friends for years, and so I'm happy to be on here. For me, I do a lot of different stuff within music. I try to make it so that the majority of my uh, ventures are music related. Right now, what I've been into the most is composition and conducting. Previously, though, I've done a lot. Taught band, taught orchestra, taught chorus. Taught different kinds of music. Created music. Been writing music since we was kids. Back, at Southside. That's just kind of carried me all the way to now. My biggest thing, my mission as far as my music is concerned and my ventures are concerned is just to humanize Black people. Make sure people know that we're humans, especially in the classical music realm, which, that's where I get a lot of attention from, I'll say. A lot of people want to play music from that realm that I create. And the reason is, I think, because they're getting a picture like of the human, not just, somebody that's trying to conform via style to to the classical, the Western classical styles. I'm basically bringing stuff from when we were kids, trap music, Southern hip hop, and trying to make that a part of something that people hear every day. And mostly, yeah, to humanize us in the eyes of others, but also, you know how it was at Southside, and probably how it is everywhere. You got these really talented people that just don't see themselves in the music, and they tend to get disinterested after a while. During the fall, we had year-round marching band for the most part. We was always doing some dance routine, something off the radio. But we did also. We wanted to have this ability to perform in different genres. Thankfully, our director put us up to that, and so he gave us things like concert band to, perform at concert band venues. However, in that setting, you just don't really see very much of yourself as a Black person. You see people imitating. Sometimes there'll be songs that have African or indigenous or colorful vibes in that way, but they aren't always from us, and definitely in school music. So some of the stuff that I'm trying to do is just to encourage people to put more of that stuff in their music and really identify with more of their ethnicity so that we can retain more people of color as it relates to classical music.
Right. Along the lines of not just classical music, but music as a whole, like under that umbrella, I was just having a conversation with some of your former students at Tucker High School or whatever, and then just trying to get them to understand that this could be a way out for some people who might not be as, tall or as gifted or as athletic as some people that might come from that neighborhood. And I literally ran into a kid who was fighting, with people in his household with like which way he wanted to go, because he really, really loved music. He really wanted to do it, but somewhere along the lines, his parents were looking at it like, well, I've never seen anybody make it or be successful doing this, and I've never seen anybody be successful doing this, so you should probably do this. So this man was going back and forth to football practice, and he wasn't even enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? It was basically like, and as a former educator, and you probably still educate, I don't know to what capacity or whatever, but like, what were some of the challenges that you faced in just the high school setting, like trying to get kids to understand like what music has done not only for you and me, but like for the world? Like, what were some of those challenges?
Yeah. Well, he's dealing with something that we dealt with as well. There isn't much support. We had this person that was like you and like how I was, and just on a whim in passing would mention, well, you could go to college off of this. You know what I'm saying? And so we kind of just were like, well, what the heck? But I think that's how it happens with us. We end up as, African Americans and minority people, people of color. You just look at it and you're like, well, what the heck? I'll try it. But for the most part, there's no sure shot from our vision, that we can make it as musicians, other than maybe hip hop. But even that is, selective too. And people are deterred from what, seems like a negative lifestyle that comes out of that, which, it's not always, but, that's a whole nother conversation. So, really, I feel like what I've come in contact with in the past is that kids just don't have not only the emotional support from their family, but they don't have even from their directors and the people that are supposed to be music experts in their lives. Those people themselves don't know how to navigate this industry and make money in a way that fits you. Everything is surface level, and they think that, oh, if I'm not famous, I'm not successful, or if I'm not a household name, that's not success. But there's plenty of ways. There's really no such thing as it relates to music of being, you heard starving artist, that that's not real. But I think everybody is given that mentality because of a lack of emotional support from the home, a lack of educational support about how you can actually make money in this field. And, and then just those two things in general coupled together tend to create a hesitancy to even go after it. So definitely have faced that, and that's what I think the problem is.
So, with the amount of years that you have invested in this industry and in this profession or whatever, was there ever a point where you thought about doing something else or ventured off to do something else? We're not going to put me on Front Street, but I started in music and I ended up cutting hair. But like you said, that's for another time. But was there ever a point in this career of yours that you ever thought about doing something else?
Honestly, no. I don't believe in my ability to do anything else, honestly. So I just didn't try to do anything else. I just was like, I'll keep doing this. I've never ever even wanted to do anything else. I did get, you met me when I first got involved in music, but like before that, I was an athlete. I was just doing that just because, whatever. I know I want to be an entertainer in some way. I guess I'll just keep waiting until my moment to get in music is. That's how I was as a kid, but I never really saw myself doing anything else. When I first heard people like Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones, I found out who made Michael Jackson's music, or, I heard Erykah Badu and stuff growing up. And, when I heard, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys or whoever, Lil Scrappy, whoever we was listening to growing up, all that stuff was like, I need this. I can't I can't not do this. So I just never gave
And
up
then
on it. I'd rather just be, but I mean, it's different for men because, men, y'all feel compelled to provide for people. And for, women, it's just like, in my head, I was just like, man, I got to do this. I'd rather not do anything than do this. So.
gotcha. And then along the lines of what you just said about how we met and where we met and stuff of that nature, is like, I don't know if it was the same for y'all because y'all were like a year ahead of me and some of y'all 2 years ahead of me, but it got to a point to where I was so like indulged in the music or whatever that I felt like I wasn't learning anything with the powers that be when we was there or whatever. Nothing against them today. Like I'm still in contact with those guys. I still talk to them. I value what they did for me, but I felt like, with what we had experienced before them, that we were like light years ahead of like what they were trying to get everybody else to do. So amongst that, like some of the best times I had was when we was going back and forth by train and bus to North Atlanta to do youth orchestra. And it was just like, to me, that was the year, and those were the years that like cemented music in my heart, because like going to hear people in 6th, 7th, 8th grade like playing circles around me, it was kind of like eye opening. And the only thing I can like say is close to that experience is like when we send kids to band camp at FAM and they come back and like their eyes and their brain and their ears are just open, man. So it's just like, I can believe you 100% when you say that music is all you ever wanted to do. Because when we was forced in that corner and in that little computer lab, oh man, like not even laptops, like we had physical computers and we in there busting out arrangements and making dance routines and stuff like that. It's just like, what do you feel would change the mindset as it pertains in our community about just being a musician, like learning an instrument?
I do think that, well, I know historically, being a musician was looked at as, it was a big time privilege, and you actually, you're performing for aristocrats and things like that. You're performing for the supposed, upper class or whatever. So, I think that there's an in-between notion inside of our community of not wanting to perform, not wanting to be a mockery or be something like a minstrelsy type of, joke to people or piece of entertainment. We often want to get away from that, and we want to do things like, no, why don't you just be a doctor? Why don't you just be a lawyer, or this kind of thing. But I think those are all legitimate feelings, but I do believe that what would make us actually participate more is, and for longer and have longevity, is ownership of companies, ownership of publishing companies, ownership of media outlets which portray us doing these things. And the thing is, once we get educational institutions in which we're educating one another, FAMU is probably one of the most comprehensive that curriculums for music that there are for Black people to be able to just go and get. But elsewhere, you're kind of tunnel visioned into looking at certain other things. You're only looking at Western classical music if you're at a PWI. You're not looking at HBCU. If you're at certain HBCUs, you're not looking at Western classical music. You're only looking at HBCU stuff. And the thing with FAMU, we got that education where we were kind of comprehensive. You're looking at all these different genres, and so the institutional aspect, there's only one out of one of those that is potentially doing that. There are others, but that's the one I know for sure. And judging by the people that graduate and the conversations they're able to, they're willing to have, that's another reason why I think that we need more educational institutions that are encouraging us to go and encouraging us by way of employment, potential employment afterward, encouraging us by way of potentially, showcasing us, bringing us in to, cement us in history, research. You can't have, you can't have anything to change as far as the stereotype about what you are or what you believe or what you do if it's not cemented via research and education and things of that nature. So somebody like what you're doing right now, you've created a media outlet and you've taken time to go and interview individuals who are doing what you believe is important. This will stay on, this is archived in digital means and will be available for people in the future to refer to when they're trying to find out more about myself and others, and you. So it's like, these are the things that there are just some key little points. And I didn't even mention everything, I think, or we'll be here all day. But like, these are just some key points of what I believe are necessary in order to, make music, we more encouraged and believed in by everybody. And then
That's what's
everybody
up.
thinks they can
And
do it. Then they, and it takes a level of expertise.
yeah,
And so getting to that mastery, we need institution, we need researcher, we need people to be out here publishing the music that we create.
yeah. But what people may not know, and how I ended up getting to this point, is people like you, people like my older brother, people like that I've met and interacted with being behind the chair in the barbershop or whatever. It's like, I don't want to say I had suppressed music for like a period of time, but it had started to kind of like, the light on music in my life had started to dim like significantly. And then you hit me up one day when you found out that I was back in Atlanta, and you was like, hey, just come by the school and work with the trumpets or whatever. And like, since that day, like that fire had just been like reignited. And like I told you, like we've had conversations that we will not mention or talk about on this interview, but it was like understanding that what I was doing it because I found a group of people that enjoyed the same thing I enjoyed when I was their age. And like, I felt like my duty was to help them get to the finish line and let them understand that things are possible. Like, people from our neck of the woods actually make it out and they go on to do big things. And your name is still highly mentioned in that area. Like, even though you've been gone for maybe, was it 2-3 years now? Like
2 years.
Yeah, like they still are, on an emotional high of like what you did and what you were able to accomplish or whatever. And along those lines, right? This is kind of a funny question for me. So I've known you, and I've come to know that you have perfect pitch, right? And
I wouldn't
there's
say
a debate
perfect, but
in my
it's
brain.
close.
It's close. But do you think, do you think people are born with perfect pitch, or they've just acquired relative pitch very, very extensively over the years?
I'll say this. The trauma that has induced my good ear is mostly just from being underserved, underexposed. And so, not getting lessons, not getting stuff like that. So like you said, we were in those rooms writing music out, just figuring it out, writing it out, and had no choice. So those sorts of things are what cultivated my ear. And then, getting to go to FAMU and, sitting in ear training classes and taking it seriously in a way like, okay, this is what I need to do to get better at hearing. So it's a lot of things like, just that fed into growing my ear. But I do know that some people are born with it. And I would say it's developed because, a lot of folks who have it, from my observation, are people who they started out in music back when they were 2 and 3. So they do have a good memory of the pitch, and they have, and some of them, you look at statistical data, people with perfect pitch, and it's like, a lot of them play concert pitch instruments, things that are in, you know what I mean? So it ain't no transposing, so it's like, you don't have to think twice, so it ends up being a lot of those folks and, pianists and stuff like that. So I think it's very possible to learn it, and it's all about speed. Folks will say, oh, she got perfect pitch because you'll say a note and then quickly I refer to what I refer to in order to remember my notes. But if people with
Right.
perfect pitch, they're not relating it to anything. So it's not,
Right.
it's relative pitch. It's on my behalf is relative, really strong word. On a lot of you folks have to have is perfect, and they just spit it right out. But my time, I do have a second of let me think, and it is some notes that I don't know what that is. I've tried to memorize that pitch, but it just never stays.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up or whatever, if you have any website, social media, or any platform that people can check out some of your compositions or whatever, feel free to plug that right now.
Yeah. Well, I do have my main website, and that's marieadouglas.com. I think. Hold on, let me look. Yeah, I think it's marieadouglas.com. Yeah, I'll make sure it wasn't .org. But yes, it's .com. And I got a couple of things coming up, pieces that I'm writing. One of them is like for mental health in young people. I'm sure you remember back in I think it was like May, when a young lady at Southern University, she was a cheerleader, she committed suicide. And at that point, somebody was asking me about writing a piece about social justice. And so I decided to, center around that in teens. And, when we at Tucker, a lot of those kids have, they're struggling with things at home, mental health, etc. So I wanted to, that was something that was close to my heart. So that's coming soon. And, you can see all that on my website. And there's a couple other consortium pieces where people are writing for HBCU clarinet concerto that's going to be geared towards the style that you'll hear us play in HBCU bands. It's going to be really cool. So just some cool stuff coming out in the future. And you can see all that on my website, marieadouglas.com.
Gotcha. In closing, who you got for the finals? I know it's early in the NBA, but who you taking?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with the Hawks every day, all day. No, I don't see anybody breaking out too far right now. Maybe Denver looks really good. Denver looks good, but I try to keep it, Denver and East Coast. I just gotta go for the Hawks. I can't even. The Lakers ain't doing so well. I think Dallas is looking good. They're looking all right. But, Denver is really, Memphis is actually looking good too. Ja Morant. And, and it's like their chemistry is looking good. And they're just if he can stay healthy, they stay healthy. They got a nice, strong center and nice guards around him. It's good for them. But I'm going for the Hawks.
You got to go for the home team.
Always.
But as I expected, Marie, this has been amazing. This has been a pleasure. It's going to be, new to some people, but this is just at any given moment or at any given time of the day, man, I appreciate you for picking up those phone calls when I call and those days and nights where I just didn't know which direction to go or whatever. But the friend that you are, I appreciate you. I love you. I wish you much success. And
appreciate you, man. You get the same respect from me, my brother.